Hello. Oh, hello, everyone. Hi. This is Courtney from Stars of the Morning Light. This is my second time trying to go live. So, normally my videos, you would see much more of me. I'm realizing this is a much smaller screen. Stars of the Morning Light, if you don't know, is a complete resource platform for all things metaphysical and spiritual. You can visit starsofthemorninglight.com for services like Akashic record readings or anything, what have you. There's blogs, there's free meditation podcasts. It's just a good resource platform. Here, though, I discuss everything from ancient texts. And I have to say, I'm so excited that today, and if you are here, thank you, welcome. The live chat is going. Today is when I finally feel comfortable after this lesson here about the human free will, that I will feel comfortable really moving forward and getting into the meat of all these ancient texts, from creation to Atlantis to all sorts of stuff. If you have anything that you're interested in, if you have anything that's like, hey, I want to know more about this, I want to know more about that, bring it up in the chat so I can also kind of know where to head with things. Because even today, quickly, I was preparing just a little bit, making notes for today, right? And my husband came in the room and he said, "Are you preparing?" I said, "Yes, but I'm going down a rabbit hole." And thank God he went, "Courtney," because I can do that. So it is always good for me if some of you let me know what you would like to learn about. So today, like I said, we have a couple of people live with us. Hi, guys. This is my finishing up everything that I felt, excuse me, very dry in the house. It is snowing in the southern part of the United States. I live in the state of Georgia, and so the heat's been going in my house a lot. So I have a little bit of a sore throat. Today, though, talking about the human free will, we have now covered the inner flame, the ego, the soul mind connection, and now we're going to be talking about free will, the human free will. I really want to make that in distinction. Hi, Matt. That the human free will. We will talk about why I say that. Not everybody's got free will. Trust me, we are very unique in that. So, but like I was saying, today is finally that place where I feel, sorry, I'm moving the camera so much, a place where I feel like we have discussed the foundation. And so now moving forward, we can get into so much of these ancient texts. So remember that all of this, when we are trying to do this lesson of the first principle, the first Hermetic principle, all is mentalism, all is mind, and we kind of start working our way back up through the principles so we could really wrap our heads around this. Remember, the underlining theme for all of this comes from the Nag Hammadi scriptures, where it says, as soon as the Father, the source, is known, forgetfulness will cease to be. That goes back to that very first episode about 3D, living in error, living in forgetfulness. So that is always going to be an underlining theme to all of these messages, all of these lessons. So we are still in all is mind. And I'm so excited that after this, we're going to get real deep. So the human free will. Today, I'm going to be working out of a Tibetan folk tale. This is trying to prevent glare. And yeah, my book's all messed up. So I'm probably just going to retell it, the story. And also the emerald tablets. Always. Always. You guys know me and my Thoth or Toth, how the Westerners say it. I love him. And if he is the OG Hermes, well, then that's what we're going to go to, right? Free will, the human free will. It is very, very unique to us, humans. Not other species have it. Not even, I mean, we can even look at just species here on our planet. Animals really don't have free will. They have instinct. Plants do as they know. And yes, because it is wrapped into our consciousness. But I'm going to read a couple of proverbs because I have an argument here that I'm going to argue against the fact that a lot of people think that we don't have free will. So I want to bring up a little bit of the other side of the argument. Proverbs of the Bible. Proverbs 28:26 says, "He who trusts in his own heart is a fool, but whoever walks wisely will be delivered." Somewhat of a contradiction when so much of the world right now is saying, oh, live by your heart, live by your heart, be that heart-centered person. We're going to really talk about this. Proverbs 4:23 says, "Keep your heart with all diligence, for out of it spring the issues of life." So, what a contradiction if Proverbs is saying don't live by your heart. Your heart doesn't know what it's doing. Think about what we learned when we talked about the ego, when we talked about the different chakras. Think about all that. That we cannot allow our ego to be driving the car. Even though we can't get rid of it, we have to cleanse it. We have to keep it balanced. We do not allow our ego to drive the car. So when they're talking about this kind of thing in Proverbs, don't follow your heart. Your heart is a fool. You have to be wise in your steps. See it as they're referring to all the lustful stuff, all the things that we desire, all the stuff that we say is following our heart. And if you think about the chakra system, we have that root chakra. And everything flows up and around, up and around, energy up and around, okay? So when we talk about the root chakra, the first, that is all about survival. And haven't we all really kicked into gear since 2020 into survival mode, into fear, into survival, into us versus them, me against the world? I got to take care of my own. Well, if that's in play, remember we talked about how the ego then lives in your powerhouse. When we learned how to cleanse it and balance it, if you don't know what I'm talking about there, go back and watch the video about the ego. The ego, you can imagine, lives in our powerhouse, our solar plexus. So if our root chakra and our energy is moving upward, is telling us fear, 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 survival, survival, Darwinism, the strongest survive. The ones who stack up the most survive. If we are in that energy moves right up, and it is now in our ego, playing out pride, envy, hatred. So much. Well, if we keep moving up, isn't our heart the next chakra? So we often allow our hearts to lead that way too. I'm taking care and justify things. I'm taking care of my family. I am doing what's right by taking care of this. I'm doing that. I'm doing this. Or if someone hurts us and we feel like our heart is broken, we want to be able to express it and just let it out. Use our free will in expressing that pain, which can happen, but that means we are still way out of balance. Our ego is still driving it. And once it gets through the heart, then the next chakra is your throat. So now you're speaking all of this. You're speaking all of this. Your upper chakras, where your wisdom, your knowledge, your logic, your consciousness, your mind, all is mind, hasn't even gone there yet to say, whoa, 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 let's think about this for a minute. I will say, so the rabbit hole that I started going down was a part of the Nagamati scriptures about how, and we will go through this one day, but I started going down that rabbit hole, and thank God my husband came in and said, Courtney, just do what you're supposed to do. There is a whole bunch of story in there about how basically the evil one was created. And they also believe that he is the God of the Old Testament. We are going to go into that. So if that's a little bit of carrot to get you enticed into that, we are going to go into that. But what's interesting about that story, and when I read it years and years ago, it was the first thing that clicked, and I went, oh my goodness. Sophia, who created this, she wanted to create the firstborn. And so she went to the father and said, hey, I want to have a son. I want to have a son. And the father said, no, it's not time. And her, being that she is of creation as well, created one without his consent, who is the arrogant one, who is the pride, who is the, you all have to bow down to me. And when I read that story, which I will say we are definitely going to get into that one at some point, it was very clear to me the power of desire. It stated she created this messed up being, basically split personality being, who is arrogant and prideful. She was able to create that out of pure desire. We have that same desire within us. We have that same power within us. So therefore, we have the power in our free will to create things that should not be. And so that's why we need to understand that this human free will is extremely powerful. A little side note also, not when I say not everybody has it, we will eventually maybe talk about aliens and other galactic beings. They don't have it as well. Most of them do not have free will. That is why we are such a source for positive and negative. Because we truly, truly are one of the only beings that has it. And I do know this. Trust me. I will talk a little bit about what the Akashic Records says on it. I bring those up, though. The Proverbs saying, don't trust your heart, because of that concept of desire. Sophia desired so much to have a son. God the Father source said, no, it's not time. She desired so much, created a horrible, horrible being and chaos. It is really the beginning of chaos. So we have that same amount in us. So when our heart is saying, oh, I want, I need, probably based on survival, fear, envy, pride, anger, what have you, our ego is fueling the needs and desires of the heart, lustful things that we want. We tend to create things that are not good for us and others and humanity, especially if we start speaking them, right? So, Carl Jung, I brought him up a lot when we talked about ego. And I am actually a very big fan of Carl Jung, and I've said it many a times. The thing with him, though, is he will say that we don't have free will for the most part, which broke my heart when I first started learning from him. And I disagree with that. He is basing his psychological theory of we don't really have free will, because of the outside stimulus that we, subconsciously absorb from this world, but also because he believes we are strictly pretty much run by our ego. So therefore, we don't have free will. Our ego is driving the car. Our ego does not need to drive the car. Once again, humans cannot get rid of their ego. It will always be present and is a part of the human experience, the human body. But it does not need to drive the car because we do have free will. Tons of free will. Hello to everyone out there. You are with Stars of the Morning Light, live on YouTube. Today we're discussing the free will, human free will. You can start in the chat whenever you'd like. I love seeing you guys. I'm going to retell a story from Tibetan Folk Tales. I don't want to read it because it is actually very long. And I'm going to get into my emerald tablets and probably read from that. So I'm just going to retell the story. It is the story of the young man who refused to kill. Doesn't it sound like he was exercising his free will? So bear with me. I'm going to just start in and just retell the story. So long ago, there was a young man who had 3 sisters, a mother and a father. And at that time, even though they knew they should not really kill for food, food was very scarce. And so they all had to start chipping in by killing the rabbits, all of the animals that they could, from birds to rabbits to goats to what have you, to survive. But the young man in this family refused to kill anything. He said, I cannot take a life. Well, as they grew, the sisters went off and married wealthy families that did not have to worry about survival. And the mother and father just had their son with them, who continuously refused to kill. And one day, the father, his last attempt to try to get his son to kill, to feed him and the family, took his son for a long walk, for a hunt. And as they were walking, the dad, his anger grew more and more, trying to convince his son that yes, even though we should not be doing this, we have to. It is survival. And the son just continuously disagreed. Well, after many hours of not even finding anything that they could kill, no rabbits, no life really anywhere, the father was getting more angry with the son and on this hunt because he's thinking, oh my goodness, because my son won't kill, he is now bad luck and I can't even find anything to kill. His frustration is growing and growing. The father's frustration is growing and growing. They sit for a moment, and as they were quiet, the father heard in the distance something. And he looks up and he sees, and it is a huge rabbit, a huge hare. And so the father pauses and he gets his bow ready. And the son is seeing this, knowing that his father is about to kill this hare. And right as his father is about to release the arrow, the son jumps up and says, no, you can't do this. Which then, with that, the rabbit runs. The father was infuriated with his son and picked up a rock and said, I might as well just kill you. You are nothing but bad luck. You are not choosing to help us survive. You are choosing to not kill. So the son, realizing his father is going to kill him, starts to run. But now he's somewhat on an edge of a cliff, but there's also a little bit of a cavern. And there's a little hole that possibly the son can squeeze through and get into this cavern, knowing his father would not fit. And all in these very few moments, as the father goes to throw this huge rock at his son, the son was able to get into that cavern, except the rock hit his leg, breaking his leg. So the son is now in this cavern, in the darkness, in pain, bleeding, in shock. So he lays there for a while. Later, he hears voices and he cries out to them, help, help. And it's 3 monks who have walked by on their journey. And one of the monks was small enough to help lift him out of this cavern. And they sat there and mended the boy's leg and gave the boy new robes to wear, cleaned him up, gave him food, and asked him if he would like to walk with them on their journey, to come with them. And the boy said yes, because he could not go back home. His father just tried to kill him. And on their journey, this young man told them of what happened to his leg, about how he refused to kill. Well, on their journey, they came upon a house, and it was of his oldest sister. And the monks asked to seek refuge and food and sleep and rest on their journey. And the sister conceded and allowed them to stay. And while the monks were there, she asked, have you seen my brother? We heard what happened and we are looking for him. And the monks said, no, we have not seen him. She did not recognize her own brother because he was wearing all the clothes that the monks had given him. They recovered, they were fed well, they rested, they moved on. Again in their journey, they came upon a house, and it was the middle sister to this young man. Same. She asked the same question. Have you seen my brother? We are looking for him. And she did not recognize him in the clothes that he wore. Same situation. They ate, they rested, they moved on. Again, they came upon another house, and it was of his youngest sister, who recognized him immediately and embraced her brother and was so happy he was alive. And after the monks were able to rest and feed themselves and gain what they needed, the young man asked if he could stay with his sister, and they said yes. So the monks moved on, and the boy stayed. After staying with his sister for a couple of days, he decided he needed to move on. And before he left, his sister gave him a magical horse, a horse who could speak. So as the boy left for his own personal journey with his horse, being able to communicate with his horse, he would talk to his horse about if he should go back to his mother and father or not. At one point in their journey, they came across a clearing. And as the boy said, "Oh, we should stay here tonight," the horse said, "You need to kill me." And the boy said, "No, I refuse to kill." And the horse said, "You need to kill me and spread my skin across this plain and spread my hair across the plain as well." And the boy still said, "No, I refuse to kill." Well, that night while the boy slept, the horse threw himself off of a cliff. The next morning when the boy woke and realized what the horse had done, the horse's voice came to him and said, "This is the spirit of the horse. Do as I said. Spread my skin across the plain and my hair as well." So the boy, wanting to follow the wishes of the horse, for he knew now what the outcome would be, but if the horse threw himself off the cliff, it must be important. So he laid the skin out and the hair, and the voice of the horse came again and said, "You are a man of compassion. You are a man who chooses rightly." And as the horse said that, the skin became this massive, beautiful castle. And all the horse hair became livestock that could feed all of the kingdom, all of the land. And the horse said, "The gods have given this to you because you are a man of compassion." The boy decided, after he looked at all of this, that he would seek out his mother and father. So he climbed to the very top of this huge castle and could see down into his parents' house. And he threw a loaf of bread to them. And the mother said, "Oh, this is a gift from the heavens." The father, immediately greedy, started eating it up. So the boy threw down another loaf of bread to the mother. She was so thankful. And he went down, knocked on the door, and they embraced their son. And he said, "Come be with me in this heavenly castle." So that is a Tibetan folktale of the young man who refused to kill. Sounds like definitely free will was involved. The human free will. Choice. Choice. Everything in that story represents the complexities that can happen within us with our free will, with our choice. The father was working through his free will as well, going out and trying to kill to survive. And the boy was demonstrating his free will, choosing, no matter what would happen, I'm not going to kill. And I believe all of us at different times demonstrate both sides. There are many times, especially since 2020, and many times in my life, always, there's been moments that my mind, based out of fear, based out of survival, will automatically go to, here's an example. Oh my goodness, the shelves at the stores are starting to look bare. I need to stock up as well. What if there's nothing there in another week? Doesn't that sound like survival? I'm out trying to find a rabbit to kill. That's based out of my ego, out of my pride, out of my fears, based out of the need to survive, and not trusting that manna, bread, will fall from the sky. And every day I will have exactly what I need. So we all do this. And oftentimes we go back and forth. The point of cleansing our chakras, the point of not allowing our ego to be driving the car, as Carl Jung really thinks is impossible to do, but it is possible. We learned it in the ego video. The point of this is we do have free will. We can operate in compassion and love. We can operate right size, connecting our heart with our mind. I mean, before we start just letting everything out, let's make sure it does go through all the chakras, right? So that was a lovely story to demonstrate the two different sides that we, in our everyday life, we are operating somewhere in there. So therefore, we do have free will. So, hi everyone. Matt, if you're still here, thank you. We are going to move on to, you know what, before I talk about Toth, I want to talk about what I do know from being able to access the Akashic records. When we talk about manifesting, and like I said, the human free will, ladies and gentlemen, you're about to read here in Toth along with me, or, listen along. It is so powerful. It is actually one of the most powerful things in the cosmos. That is why we, thanks, Matt. Especially when we will eventually start talking about like maybe the evil ones kind of feeding off of us. It has a whole lot to do with our free will. It has a whole lot to where we give our energy, time, and space, mental, physical, emotional to. And we have the power to choose what we give our energy to. We are not the slaves that many of us, or many people, are just now waking up to ideas of that. We are not that, though. And the records, the Akashic records, very much, I think that's why it was known, like, okay, go through all these pre-videos, Courtney, before you really get into the meat. And they wanted me to leave it with this one before I get into all the other aspects, creation and all sorts of things, the evil ones, because this is so powerful. And if we go back to the concept of Sophia creating the chaos and the horrible darkness out of pure desire, then we have that same kind of creation ability within us. And it is very much based on our free will. And I remember when I was in college, one of the greatest things I learned in college, honestly, that I couldn't really wrap my head around it fully until later in life, was I had a professor who repeated all the time, the greatest thing about being a human is that we have the capacity to surprise ourselves. Other beings don't have that. Dogs do as dogs do. Cats do as cats do. Animals do as animals do. Plants do as plants do. We are the species here on the planet that have the capacity to surprise ourselves. What that means is if we've been going right, let's say every day of our life, we have turned right. We are just going right every day. We're just going right. And one morning, we wake up and we go, I wonder what would happen if I turn left. And that day we decide and choose and surprise ourselves and we turn left. We are the only ones that have that. We are the only ones that can go, you know what? I'm going to surprise myself today. I'm going to see what the world would be if I chose differently. That is free will. So, getting into that, oh, I love you all. I love you. I love you. I love you so much. So much. This is my beloveds. All the glare, the emerald tablets, Thoth the Atlantean here in westernized world. We call him Toth. I call him Toth because I'm westernized. This has come up in many videos and it's going to always come up because this is my jam. Me and Toth this is my ultimate. I am going to read from the Emerald Tablet 12, the law of cause and effect and the key of prophecy. This is not the, I guess you would say this is the opening to discuss the law of cause and effect, but we're going to have much more of that in a series, all leading up to All is Mind, because we really have to understand the rest of the Hermetic principles before we can fully grasp All is Mind. And one of those is the law of cause and effect. So let's just read a little bit from our lovely Toth here. I'm going to take a drink of water. Thanks, guys. Yes, Matt, I agree. Toth, yeah, he's hands down. For those who might still be watching, it is the Emerald Tablets and the Nag Hammadi Scriptures that is usually Courtney's go-to. Which are the Gnostic texts. Okay. So this is from the first page of the Law of Cause and Effect. It does mention free will here. That's why we're going to look at it. East, old man, the words of my wisdom. So listen, old man, the words of my wisdom. List to the voice of Toth the Atlantean. Conquered have I the law of time-space. Knowledge have I gained of the future of time. Know that I, man, in his moment through space-time, shall ever be one with the all. Man will forever be one with the all. Know ye, O man, that all of the future is an open book to him who can read. All effect shall bring forth its causes, and all effects grew from the first cause. Know ye the future is not fixed or subtle, but varies as cause brings forth an effect. Look in the cause thou shalt bring into being. and surely thou shalt see that all is effect. I'm going to keep reading, and then we're going to discuss this for a moment. In the great beginning, there grew the first cause that brought into being all that exists. Thou, though thyself, art the effect of causation, and in turn are the cause of yet other effects. So, old man, be sure that the effects that ye bring forth are ever causes of more perfect effects. Know ye, the future is never in fixation, but allows man's free will as it moves through the movements of time-space toward the goal where the new time begins. Man can only read the future through the causes that bring the effects. Seek ye with the causation, and surely ye shall find the effects. Okay, so cause and effect. I'm sure all of us have gone through high school English and science, and we learned cause and effect, right? It is saying everything that has been rolling out really came from the first cause. But everything that we choose to do is either an effect from a cause, or we are projecting effects to happen by the causes we're doing right now. Do you see what I'm saying? It's a back and forth, back and forth, back and forth. So he says, because I'm going to talk about it, and I'm also then going to talk about the Akashic Records, what they've shown me, especially right now in our current time. This is my favorite for this. So, old man, be sure the effects that ye bring forth are ever causes of more perfect effects. So everything that we do, the decisions we make with our free will, not solely based out of survival, ego, heart's desire, what we do will affect the future, cause and effect, effect and cause, back and forth. It's this perpetuating movement. But remember, we can surprise ourselves and we can go left. Know ye, the future is never in fixation, but follows man's free will as it moves through the movements of time-space toward the goal where a new time begins. Right now, and I will tell you this because every time I go to the records, it's been a little bit wonky as far as timelines go. We all, I guess I should briefly explain what the records are. The Akashic record, I actually refer to as the Akashic Realm. It is a place of all knowledge, all wisdom, and it has, let's say, all of your soul's journeys, plural. Also, what has happened through time and space of our planet and galactic. And we're not going into how there's no such thing as time and space right now, but just know. So we all have timelines. And I am able to retrieve your timeline and look at it and see what's going on. I will say, since definitely since about 2018, 2019, timelines just started breaking down and changing. We all started surprising ourselves, going left, to the point that the past couple of years, nothing has been of fixation. And I do want to make that very clear. I knew at even a young age, and I'm still a firm believer, nothing is written in stone. Nothing is ever written in stone. We do have the power to change all of it. Thank you. So, but I want to say since about 2000, definitely 18, 19, everyone's timelines were not straight. They were not, I mean, it turned into, oh my goodness, I can give you options here of like, if you decide to go forth this way, this could happen, that could happen, that could happen, cause and effect, right? No one's timeline has been like, I guess you would say, anchored. No one's timeline has been at all. And it's because we are at this apex of this great awakening, people waking up. They want to talk about the great resignation right now. 35 million people have resigned from their jobs or quit out of nowhere. That's a lot of folks. I am a firm believer that maybe a little less than half, it had nothing to do with retirement, really nothing to do with crappy pay or this and that. It had to do with the great awakening process of I can no longer just fulfill my survival needs. I have to actually live my purpose, even if I don't know what that is yet. And it's a part of these timelines, just kind of breaking down, reshaping, waving. I will say, and I think I've talked about this in another video, for many people though, you do have to make a decision. You can always change it later, because what started happening definitely this past year was a lot of people's timelines were just spinning, kind of like we're just spinning in our heels, not making a decision. That is never good, because energy will always flow. Energy will always be moving. And you can have it move this way and then change it that way. That's fine. That's surprising ourselves. You don't want to have it just spinning in place. That has the potential to cause a void even. So just make a decision, no matter if it's the right one or wrong one, because you can always decide differently later, right? So once again, nothing is written in stone. Everyone's timeline right now is all wonky, all over the place. That is okay. That is beautiful. It is because we are at the time of the Great Awakening. Let us remember, though, let's just not follow our heart's desire, because chaos can come out of that. We also have to work with some wisdom and knowledge, right? Yes. Because it says, follow man's free will as it moves through the movements of time-space toward the goal where a new time begins. Man can only read the future through the cause that brings the effects. Seek ye with the causation, and surely ye shall find the effects. So in many of these videos we've been talking about, sometimes you got to look backward or go backward to go forward. It is perfectly fine to look back at the choices that we've made and how they played out, cause and effect, so we can learn how to choose differently, so we can demonstrate our free will in different ways. That is beautiful, and that is fine before you make that decision. But all decisions through the movements of time-space toward the goal where a new time begins. So I'm going to say, if you are watching this video, if you are participating at all with Stars of the Morning Light, you are opening up to the concept that we can change what goes on here on this planet. We can change it within ourselves, and then we can project all that change and beauty out to the world. We can manifest a whole new beginning. And that, he just said, is the goal. A new beginning. And that is how our free will needs to work through, demonstrate itself, make the decisions, verbalize them, go forth with that goal in mind, always, of a new beginning within ourselves, of enlightenment, of spiritual growth, out to our neighbors and friends, out to further into the community, out to the country that we live in, out to the planet. It is always, always, we need to use our free will over our ego to bring forth a new beginning. So that is our quick 50-minute lesson, I guess, on free will. I really did need to get through all these aspects, the inner flame, the soul consciousness, the ego, and now free will. So then when we get into the meat of all of these ancient texts, like the true meat of all of this, when I refer to that stuff, it's already there. It is the foundation to everything, knowing that you do have more power than you think, knowing that you have that inner spark, knowing that once the Father is known, the source, forgetfulness cease to be. So I thank you all. Matt, thank you for being here. I think someone else is here as well. Thank you all for joining, and I appreciate you so much. I really do. I love being here with you. So have a lovely day. I will, Matt, I will see you Wednesday. So thank you. Love you all. Bye-bye. Namaste.